So, hi, Margo. Just excited to connect with you on this full moon. And yeah, just really trying to get into conversations with people who I know are also, doing the deep soul work in the world. And, that seems to be helping me. In general, it always does. Obviously, as somebody who
Yeah.
facilitates that work, and as you do, and just there's something about just like coming in and having conversation, and I was like, we could talk about God, the body, our expression, and just like curious, just like in this time, what it's like for you, to be in relationship. I know you've gone on such a deep journey with your relationship to the divine, and working that through many different practices, and working with different teachers. And I just love the full moon in Aquarius for me is always so connected to that deep soul initiation that we go through again and again, it seems, that gives us medicine and gives us connection, right? That then we can hold space for others to enter into within their own experiences, and how that relates to all the different areas of our life, that level of inner trust and knowing. So yeah, just kind of curious how it's going over there for you on the full moon, and just anything
Yeah.
that bubbles up for you around that.
Yeah. I was just before this, I was sitting down I've been trying to get into a routine of writing a Substack essay a week and sitting down on Wednesdays.
Mm.
And I was just like, ugh, like, it's just like I have so much to express and I don't know what to write.
Ooh,
But I'm
yeah.
also like swimming in desire and how longing relates to God and how we even like express ourselves. And if I start to talk about that, am I too weird? And it's like
Yeah, like the
just
edges.
very like I feel like I've arrived at a place where I'm really comfortable sort of holding uncertainty or holding a question. And then I'm kind of right now looking out into the world like, oof, are we're not, think it's safe to say we're all not in a place where we can hold uncertainty and paradox
Yeah,
and
yeah,
complexity, but I'm just like, okay, how do I start to like welcome people into that or
yeah.
express the things that don't feel expressible?
What
And
are, like, okay,
yeah,
so can I interrupt you and just like ask a question?
yeah.
I feel like so Margo, you did body temple dance unleashed training, and um, when we're connecting to the body, like in that training, we learn the different
Mhm.
languages of the body and different ways the
Mhm.
body can express, and what the body even means. Because like, what it's like saying God, you're like, oh, it means so many things. You're like, please don't overwhelm me by saying the word body or God. Everyone's like,
Yeah.
gotta take talking too exhausting. But we can, we're sifting through, and I think reclaiming what these things are for us. So, in relationship to like the inspiration, like, wow, there's so much here for me. And I
Mhm.
think a lot of people relate to that. It's like, wait, I'm constantly bombarded with like even just like what we see, that we're just kind of like, no, that's not it, and it's like to use that like push against, to allow the body to speak in
Mhm.
any outlet. But for example, like what you're speaking to through
Mhm.
writing, Substack is an incredible space for that, to
Mhm.
receive others writing, and to trust our own flow with um how did the language of the bodies, the
Mhm.
languages of the body relate to your creative process, or how has it is like part of my question. And maybe when you're working with others, how does
Yeah.
that show up?
Yeah. Well, I mean, to start, before I started writing, I turned on a song. And I was like, ooh, I feel like I have a theme sort of around longing and desire. And then I like turned on a song. And then I
Mm,
just started moving. And then I would
yeah,
kind of like in the middle of moving, go write, like a phrase would come and I'd put it down and keep moving. And then a phrase would come.
yeah.
And so for me, that is just like, okay, how do I bring everything sort of into the conversation of like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, if I'm holding a theme or if I know I want to be writing, like, okay, let me bring my body into the conversation of not just like top down head to paper, but okay, what is actually here for me to express
Yeah.
in a really actually embodied way? And I still have writer's block, so I have no solution. But it's just,
Yeah.
but even that is information. I'm like, well, okay, I'm not writing an essay. I guess I'm writing a poem. So that's what I did.
And yeah. So how does that, oh, sorry, now I'm like getting all into personal, but this is just the way the conversation's going and I'm okay with it if you are. But just like when I hear you say that, I also hear you let your body lead and you let the mystery lead, and your body to the great mystery to God as you are, him and them. It's like, and then you wrote a poem. Like, to me that doesn't sound like writer's block. So I'm curious, like, how is that writer's block?
Wait. Okay, see? And this is why I can't do anything alone, because I literally like need people to reflect stuff back to me.
Me too. I know. I have no going on. And then I'm like, it just happened to me. I was just on a coaching call with, one of the practitioners I work with, and literally the end result, I want to hear what your response is, but by the end she's like, "Oh, she told me to do what you just said." And I was like, "Oh my God, it's the mystery. Like, this is what I tell. This is like, it's the most basic concept. Like, goddess, God, the body, and our expression and our creative expression, and like the actual soul filled expression. It's like, I mean, it's not simple because it's like just a constant, like, it's like orienting to pleasure, where it's just like the stress in the body will always be easier to feel than orienting to pleasure until it isn't. But even then something else will happen in your life and then it is again, just a constant, orientation back to that, and it was just so interesting. I literally just got that feedback like 10 minutes ago. And I was like, I am like, oh my God, it's so embarrassed, but also not, because we all need to hear the things that move through us, as people that are highly sensitive, highly attuned, intuitive, creative, you know what I mean? Like, this is our power, but it's like, we need to have a reflection. So yeah, I'm just curious what you started laughing and then you were like, oh wait, like this is part of why being mirrored is so helpful. But also maybe you also meant something else. Like you were like, oh, I wanted to write an essay, and then poem, and maybe that's what you mean by the block. And just curious, like what does that mean to you, and in that. And I love that you did it. Like, I love that, because that's what we like train us all to do, and I still, even though I have a whole school about it, need to be reminded, like, in areas where I get stuck, right? Like I was talking about my business restructuring. I'm like restructuring our whole school right now, and it's just so much, because it's like so much. And like, so then I just forgot, like, oh wait, turn on the song, move the body, pull in like who and what, like phrases, like what people, like what is, like, it's just clear. It's just, I don't know. It's just being with, I don't know.
So, and I think that, like, in the specific example I brought in of Substack, and like, okay, being on here and wanting to be consistent and trying to find a way to give a little bit of masculine structure to my feminine flow, I'm like, okay, I'm writing an essay Wednesday afternoon to publish Thursday morning. And so I think that was the tension of like, I'm here to write an essay, or like draw some conclusion, or like have some level of thought leadership. All that's moving through me is this poetry that I don't even know if it makes sense. And like, when I think of that in the context of what I'm here to teach, that's kind of what I'm here to teach. Of like, you get to kind of separate from those expectations and just like let whatever move through you.
Yeah, absolutely. And like the refinements or the discernments and those things can come later. But I think especially if the intention is to like show up and write, or show up and listen, show up and grieve, to me, all this work is so connected to grief. Even just like, just show up. Like, that's why we have these classes online every Friday, and it's just bring whatever it is, and then more gets revealed through the process of just like being held in space, and I think when you're holding yourself, what I'm hearing in that space, it's maybe, and you could tell me if you agree or disagree, it's like, and this is just true for me, I could just speak for myself. Sometimes when you're in it and you're like practicing being your own loving parent, or your own daddy, either way, it's like you're to not bring expectations to it is a little bit harder in the creative process. Like for me to show up and hold people in that space of just like, okay, let's strip everything away. Because no matter if you're like writing your book or building a new phase of your business or starting, your work in the world or whatever it is, or just trying to like get into like some expression that feels like more true to offer to your partner or, a family member, it's like always for me going to come down to that, like holding and being held without expectation, right? And so when I show up as a facilitator, as a teacher and guide, it's very easy for me to do that for you. I'm like, just get in here. Like I have no expectations at all. Like
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
expectations are like I can't even come up with. I'd have to try so hard to like even think of an expectation I would have of you. Like I mean we have agreements and there's structure to what we're doing. It's not like a free for all in a lot of ways, but it's like that expectation versus agreement energy is just not there. But when we're holding that space for ourselves, like gonna show up on Wednesday, carve myself out 2 hours. I mean, I did that too this week. I was like Monday, Tuesday, like work on my book.
Mm.
Did I do that? I did none. I did no work on the book Monday, Tuesday, and now here it's Wednesday and those days are gone. So, it's like part of it is like leaning into that structure. And then part of it is like, yeah, like really also allowing ourselves to trust that flow. Or like you said, like this poem came through and it's like, you get to decide if you want to share that or not. But I imagine if there was some willingness agreement you had with your Substack readers, like, hey, like this is my space to come share in this way that it might become something more, but as a Substack article or piece of writing or poetry, I think it would be amazing. I mean, I would love to read it.
Yeah. I mean, I'll share. Like it's like in true artist form, I don't know if it makes any sense whatsoever, but it was funny because when I was sitting there writing, I was actually thinking about like some of the kind of like shamanic writing exercises we do in body temple dance, or where you just like read a poem to me and say a word and set a timer. And I'm just like, or like my hands like, and I don't even know what's happening. It's just flow. And then I was sitting at my computer and it was such a contrast of like, I was thinking about that specifically, like, oof, there's something that happens when I'm expressing just for the sake of expressing.
Yeah.
And then when I'm sitting down to express in a way that's like contributing to something wider than me in a different way. Yeah. And I just found that tension really interesting.
By others, or that is just for your particular platform? Does it feel like specific to that?
What did you say? I missed the first part.
Like when you're sitting down to do something that's like for your specific body of work or your specific platform that is going to be witnessed in a wider way, does it feel like that's the time that gets a little more fuzzy? Because even sometimes in the community you'll write and then you might share a piece of it. Choice usually, you know what I mean, to share or not share in that context. So where is the part that feels like it kind of comes in and says like, oh, it has to be something else?
Yeah. I mean, so I haven't felt that level of like, oof, like I have all these things happening, but for some reason I can't get it down since I was like writing professionally, like full-time journalism reporting. And I took a really long break from writing for consumption, unless it was like Instagram captions. And I was like, just like kind of saying the thing, so it is this like writing for quote unquote consumption, or to be perceived in a certain way, or to share information in a specific way.
Yeah.
That's what I've attached to Substack, I guess, is this specific way. Yeah.
Yeah. And also like what I'm hearing in like in journalism, but there's like the intention behind it for like the intention for consumption. It's almost like the different relationships that like I imagine like, okay, somebody hiring you as a coach or, as an embodiment, practitioner, hiring you in the context of this other work as opposed to you showing up as a journalist. You know what I mean? Like those threads and that creative life force energy is very different, than when you're showing up for a job, specific thing. And I just know, like, for me, and I'm sharing this with you because it just feels really important for me too, because I, like I said, have very similar experiences, especially when exploring the way that like the divine like is gives me that passion to create, you know, with the pain, with the suffering, with the loss, with the uncertainty, right? Like that's how I find stability inside of uncertainty, you know, that I'm continuously, you know, haunted by the uncertainty that never ends
Yeah.
and only gets worse, you know, in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
But to like really
Mhm.
have stability within myself, I
Mm.
think, and with my relationship to the divine, Mira by Star, who I know you know, but you know, she's written so many books, you know, and I really like, I love, she's also on, you know, Substack, definitely read her work too. But this prompt practice, one of the places I learned that was from Mirabai and also from Bruce,
Mm.
who was another one of my writing teachers in LA. But this piece of like, even when you said like, oh, I started moving my body, and then like like this phrase would come through, right?
Mm.
And that's like whether you're like creating a course or like something, you
Sure.
know, that's the way to do it, because these phrases are like in your field. You've already done so much work, so much training. It's like that's how we like create this life of integration for all the insights that have, you know, been
Mm.
like they've woken up in our field. You know what I mean? And so, anyways, I'm getting sidetracked, but this piece about, you know, showing up to use work with a prompt and then free write, you know, she writes her books like that.
Yeah.
That's how she writes everything.
Mm.
And it's like the initial thing is always that, which is like why I feel, obviously there's a million different ways to write, and you know, but I feel like when I read her words, I feel the divine, I feel the
Mm.
mystery, even if she's sharing and writing about something that's like
Mhm.
has nothing to, is nothing technically spiritual to it. You know what I mean? It's like she's writing about a very specific human experience, which, you
Mhm.
know that there is no separation, right? On that, we know ultimately that that's the truth. But to embody that, you know, I think is so interesting. And I was always like, wow, like, and then sure, she'll go back and like there'll be a whole process of like editing that has its own sacred flavor to it that I'm not an expert in. I'm definitely an expert in this other part that we're talking about. But part I'm not an expert in and I'm not good at it, and I hire other
I
people.
can dive into the editing part. That's like
Yeah,
that I can do.
like we other, because I'm like, okay, I can hire people to be like, yo, help, you know, because I'm not good at that. And like some things you want to get better at, you know, and I definitely feel like as I get older, like that is a journey I want to go on. And
Mhm.
you know, life, I'm just like, please help me and help me with the things I'm not good at. But I just wanted to name that because I just feel like that even when you're alone, you know what I mean? Like building that muscle, you know, of like, wow, opening the book, doing a little divination practice of just, you know, scanning through and
Mhm.
what pops through and taking that
Mhm.
prompt and then writing on it, you know, that shamanic writing
Yeah.
practice. I think is so helpful even for these things we're talking about. And then maybe a poem comes through.
Yeah. It's really interesting too. I think that like part of the transition I'm in is going from a really long journey of a lot of deep writing practices and ritual theater practices and sharing that has been like, you know, very real and raw and vulnerable, actually in a safe space that wouldn't be appropriate for Instagram or Substack, or I guess
Yeah.
could be, but is not where I'm going to choose to share it for now.
Yeah.
But like going from relating to that form of expression, like super free, super safe, like, you know, kind of like
Yeah.
subconscious coming up and just like having a stage to sort of express, even if it's just that writing practice to myself. Like, okay, now I have this whole sort of
Mm.
web of expression that I know how to relate to. It's like, okay, now I'm kind of bringing it somewhere else. How do I even, it's like something new to relate to my expression in a way, in a different
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love this. I love this question, you know, and a part of it is obviously the context, you know, like again, if you're like writing for a job, that's like, you know, you're not going to be like, "Ugh," like this, like fucking shit that they're like, is she okay? You know what I mean? Like, you know, depending on what your work is and what you're after, like, it's also like a part of me is like, well, yeah, you might just need like some of those people that hold you
Mm,
in those to like read what you're writing and be like, yeah, Margo, this is, like I said, you have to take it into context depending on your job or whatever, because it is like people have to earn a living. But, in terms of like expressing their unhinged, nature. And also a lot of times, like when I work with people, like they're really like buttoned up, you know what I mean? And they're not used to that like unhinged energy. And that the point of it is to like allow and unleash some of those more authentic expressions to come through, and not necessarily to be like, oh, I'm going to share this thing. Right. So for example, right, like we were working last night in the rage ritual I did of like, and we do this a lot where you just, find this like piece of like, oh, I didn't say this thing that I wanted to say to this person. I kind of fawn, like I just went into this agreeable or just like, okay, like I just didn't know what to say. I kind of froze, and now it's like living in me, and it's like it's stirred up this trauma that is not even about this person, but it's like it's not going away, right? Like those kind of experiences, then when we write them and we might say like, you fucking asshole, like, you know what I mean, like consciously ranting and then performing like what Margo was just talking about, of like what we call ritual or shadow theater, where we actually give you like a little stage to be like, go, like say the thing, do the thing, or express it without words, and like let us witness you in it. It's like that is its own place, like you're saying, that isn't supposed to, I don't want to say, this would be hurtful to another person in a way that I don't agree with, or it would hurt me to actually be in a vulnerable position, but it still needs to be expressed, right? So going from that level of like training that you've been in to them being like, Substack, like who's here? Like, I guess I'm just so curious, like who do you want to be like, reading and being like, how, you know what I mean? Like how you want to be received is also like you get to choose, and then it's also totally out of control. But that is like some of the ways that I know I have found my own truth in it, because how others receive us is always like a hell realm if you try to go there or stay there for any amount of time. It's like it's a hell realm. So you want to just keep coming back to it. It's like, but tension around how you want to be received is also important. And I think something you put into your writing, or just into your heart when you are writing. So it is feeling like that flow, but also feeling like contained in a different way. You know what I mean? And I think that initial just like raw expression is going to be the initial energy that then maybe you go back and look at, and you just do, if you love editing, like, you just need a little bit of that. Just like, then you go back and you're like, wait, dot, 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 like this sacred process of refinement and discernment. This be spoken actually, but like the essence of this needs to be, and this is come out, because then there's that whole sacred process too of editing. What are you hearing in that, or what's coming up for you?
Well, I have a question for you. Like, I'm kind of curious too, just knowing some of your nature, just like, wild in a sense, if I can use that word in the best way. How do you relate to honestly any form of expression that's like outside of the context of the containers that you're creating? So like an Instagram or a Substack or a book, like even if you're creating it, it's like, okay, how do I even?
It's like, I think for me, it's like it's like, so then part of what ends up happening is when people see me or come to me, they're coming for this raw, they want to tap into their raw expression, their unfiltered soul energy. That's just like their voice. That is just like, I'm not figuring out how to say this, I'm just saying it, right? So I think what ends up happening is that then for me, because that has been my experience of what has also brought me a lot of more embodiment, meaning like my insights and my experiences with the divine they come through more in my personality when I'm doing these kinds of things, like writing or holding space for others to express. And it like wakes me up to like my presence, my ability to like be present is like awakened when someone's in that raw expression. Last night we had somebody embody through movement, sound, or words, if they wanted, just their longing for a lover that actually is into them specifically. It was like a very specific thing that was like frustrating her so bad. Like she was just like, oh, I'm just like longing for that. And so we witnessed her, and I could like feel how other people's ability to like stay with it with her. It's like, it's a training and it's a weird, subtle thing that I can't, I'm explaining it now, but it's weird. And I could feel how I was like, yes, like I was just like in there with her, like fully, like I was just like, and it like showed me this like containment and presence that I long for in my life. You know what I mean? So coming back around to your question, I think one just becomes, for me anyway, I don't know if it's because I'm very Aquarian. I got 0 degrees Aquarius rising, which just means like my individual and collective thing is like not super. For some people, it's just more, I don't know, separated. For me, it's a little like it's more swimming. Like my individual experience, what I'm here to hold space for with others and the collective is very connected. But then it does get messy for me in my personal life. If I had to get a job or something, I mean, I hopefully never will, but like, I mean, a job like the outside of running my own business, like I don't know, you know, there's a certain amount of unmasking that I've done with my neurodivergence that really makes it very difficult for people who are living in a lot of conditioned masking, which a lot of people have to do to survive for different reasons, internally, externally. And so even in relationships, it's weird. It's like, it's also like, yeah, it's great. And then it's also like, I have to sometimes be like, oh, wait, this isn't the most effective way to speak to my partner. This isn't the most effective way or loving, you know, thing to do when I'm just like at the grocery store. I don't know. Just like there is something about that wildness that is also like, you know, as you mature and as I mature, it's like, oh, wait, there's also like, there's the intention behind it and the choice within it. I guess it always back to choice, which is what we always talk about in Body Temple, because like, it's not always the right thing to just be like, rah, you know, on social media and like, sure, sometimes, but it's also like, there's always going to be an edge of vulnerability for us if we're being intimate with our soul and our passion of the, you know, that the soul carries. And so if you're, you know, for me, I'm like, I might be more comfortable just being like, just, you know, just like embodied and weird, you know, then it's like an unhinged and being like, rah, and then deeper vulnerability is probably going to be in me, like pulling back a little and being like, ooh, what happens if I'm not fully leading in this way? And I'm just kind of holding some of that back and I don't know, seeing what happens. So, you know what I mean? Like there's always edges to where we are, I think. And it's like, yeah, in some ways it works back to our authentic expression because it will feed into the work that at least we're here to do creatively and relationally. But there's also then, you know, lots of places of refinement, obviously. And I experience that all the time, just like in therapy with my, I'm like, say the thing I would say, like as if I'm in a ceremony with a bunch of women and people with vulvas and Body Temple, and they're both like, fuck, like, like, and then I'm like, oh wow, this is like, it doesn't always translate, you know, because you're and it's, we don't do this liberatory work to be unrelatable. We do it to be able to love people where they are if we're choosing to be in relationship. And obviously the world isn't gonna like stay caught up, obviously. Like you know what I mean? So you're just constantly working that old while you're in this emergent energy. So I just blah 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 for a minute. So would love to hear what you for you personally.
When you were describing, I think it was last night, and you just like witnessing someone else's expression and kind of like feeling yourself in that or really deeply relating to it. I feel like as definitely a storyteller and communicator at heart, and it's like totally what I'm here to do in the world in different ways, but that's like the whole point of why I would ever write or why I would ever like, just thinking about the times that I've sat and watched ritual theater to be able to express and know that I'm like so deeply received on a soul level, but then to actually be in the other seat and sit there and receive somebody on like the deepest soul level of their expression is so powerful. And I think that any way that, you know, we might be expressing Substack, Instagram, newsletter, books, all the things, but that's the heart of anything I would ever want, you know,
Yeah.
in sort of relationship. It's like, okay, when I sit down and write this poem, yeah, I do want whoever's eyes read it to like, I want it to tug something. I want them to feel it on a soul
Yeah.
level.
Yeah.
Or if you sit down and you like read anything or you see me in any capacity, really, like,
Yeah.
I want you to feel it on a soul level
Yeah.
anytime I express. And I think that that's part of what learning how to be, learning the languages of your body
Yeah.
and the ways it expresses is so important. I used to be living from sort of this wintered coat before I got into more somatic healing and
Yeah.
deeper into my own spiritual practice, and like going like eventually, okay, it feels like I'm relating to the world from cling wrap, and okay, now the cling wrap's gone, and eventually it just feels like I'm relating to the world from this like pit in the core of my heart that is actually like really vulnerable, but
Yeah.
is very true in my expression. But like when I just think about all the ways that we express, yeah, I want to be relating to people from that core. And
Yeah.
those are the stories I want to be telling and writing and reading and editing. And
You ever read The Velveteen Rabbit,
no,
the kid? It's a children's
no.
book, but it's a book about this like raggedy old rabbit like becoming real. And it was
Mm.
a favorite
Oh,
book. And yeah, you should read it. It's the kids' book, but or you know, but it's when you were just talking, it reminded me of how like when I was a kid, that was my favorite book. You know what I mean?
mm,
What we're
yeah,
talking about is also like it's such a it's so real. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like there's
yeah.
just everything you're saying I fully understand. I can feel it. I can feel your integrity. I like to me that part of what I'm how I'm impacted by what you're saying is I'm just like I feel your integrity. And like to me that's part of what integrity is, you know, is to have that commitment and to have that vow within oneself.
Mm,
And at the same time it's really interesting like living in, you know, Western societies, living in modernity
yeah,
where it could just seem like what we're talking about is like yeah, like not real, even though it's
right,
literally the process of becoming one's real self. You know what I
right.
mean? And what
Yeah,
that means to the individual in relationship to the collective and
mm,
how we're supporting each other with that. So I just appreciate it, and I feel like it's so beneficial, you know, to talk about it and to like, you know, keep weaving it through. And I'm excited for you to put that poem out on your. Did you put it out yet on your Substack?
no, but now I'm like, now I need
You
to
don't
go
have
edit it.
edit it, give it
No,
one round, and then give it a little, hey, this is
yeah,
a one
yeah,
round edit, you know. But like
yeah,
wanted to share this piece with you and you know, and obviously you do what you
yeah,
want, but that, you know, I'm like, wow, I'd be curious. And having you
yeah,
share it with us. I want to
yeah,
just ask you one more question because, you know, we you know, in our in Body Temple and in the school, we have ways of helping people obviously come into greater contact with the emotional body and with the
yeah.
soul and, you know, all the things we're talking about. And then there is this piece of ritual theater or something I've been calling shadow theater, just because I feel like people really access these aspects of their shadow, meaning like things they don't fully know but they feel and sense, and then it kind of comes through in this like really wild miraculous way. And like you said, the witnessers receive just as much out of the people who are like sharing some sort of prayer formance, we call it. But I would love to just hear a little bit about like your experience on like what it is and to you, like, you know, obviously we have, you know, trainings where we like teach people what it is, and there's like cultural, you know, and historical connections to it, and, you know, appreciations that we share, and, you know, that is all there. But I'm also very interested in people's direct experience. And so if there's anything you want to share around that or are willing to, I always think it's so, to me, it's so fascinating to feel like, you know, oh, I was here and then I shared this and then this is what that brought me, or, you know what I mean? Or anything that comes up for you around even witnessing other people in that. You just did that, but just if there's anything else that you want to share about specifically ritual theater and what that has, what it means, because obviously most nobody really knows what it is, even, you know.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if this is your experience. I have such difficulty putting it to words because it's like so, oh man. I mean, I'm thinking back to the times that I've done it and received.
Mm.
And for starters, I can only do it in very specific places with people I trust. And
Yeah.
that's kind of what I would recommend to anybody. But because it is this like, I don't know, catapult, but that's kind of what I feel like into your most sort of raw expression.
Yeah.
That's been my experience
Yeah.
of like, oof, I kind of know what's going to come through, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't, it just feels like, and there's no way I'm putting this to words in the way that it actually feels, but just like, for me, it's a sigh of relief of, okay, it's a prayer performance and we're performing, but actually I'm not. Like,
Yeah.
actually, this is me actually really free for 2 minutes
Yeah. Yeah.
in a way that helps me be able to relate to what's true to me and how I express myself
Mm-hmm.
in a deeper way. And also feel liberated in the sense that, okay, actually, I can share some of the most vulnerable, edgy parts of myself and
Yeah.
be received in
Yeah.
a way that is like, oh, actually there is some level of belonging, like
Yeah.
talking about Aquarius. It's like, okay, when we let our most wild
Yeah.
self loose, okay, actually I can be met with love.
Right. And not just be met with either somebody trying to fix it or somebody like, all the things that we're all conditioned to do.
Mm,
I mean, it's not even a judgment. And it's just like to just be met with exactly what you just said, which is like to just be met with love. It's like,
mm,
it's not just like a light, fluffy love. It's like, it's a deep, you
mm,
know, like impersonal but powerful
mhm,
exchange. You know what I
mm,
mean? Because even
mm,
be with that, but you're like, I'm witnessing this person I don't know expressing their pain in this way, or expressing their joy and resiliency of their ancestors in this way, or expressing, this suffering that their ancestors have been carrying and holding, and that they're contending with within
mm,
themselves, like bringing what's inside out.
mm,
That's part of it.
mm,
And I hear what you're saying around the like
mm,
the catapultedness into the raw expression,
mm,
partially because you're in this work, you are creating in the moment, or you might have a few hours, or whatever it might be, to when we do it in the individual way, because there's different ways we practice it. But one is offering, an individual, here's 3 hours, here's some prompts, and you can create something that's either 3 minutes long, or however long, seven
mm,
minutes sometimes, smaller groups, whatever, it's
mm,
changing. But in the moment, Margo, what you were just saying of like, you might have an idea of that, but in the moment you're also committed to this period of time. I'm just going to offer myself
yeah.
as a vessel for that energy of like
Mm,
what I know I'm carrying to actually like
mm,
do
move
me,
through you.
you know
Yep.
because it is like it's also intense. So it's like a temporary, like, here, there's a timer, there's a beginning, there's a middle, there's an end, like, and then you're done. Even though like it's not any more intense, also in some ways, it's like we're carrying these things all the time, and they do consume our perceptions of ourselves in the world. Obviously,
Mm,
go into extreme emotional states, which we all do, so yeah, I love your reflections, and even that you're like, yeah, to put it into words can't capture the feeling. I mean,
I
yeah,
can't.
yeah, and that's
It
the magic.
can't. Yeah. Yeah. It cannot. It cannot. It cannot. It cannot.
Yeah,
And even I don't know if I even tried to like describe something that I've seen or done, it just would not. It's that soul level like expression and relatedness that we had already talked about of like, oof, the depth of my core is showing you something
yeah,
and you're receiving it. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
The people have to be willing. It's like, I think
Mm,
the reason why it works in the ways that we share it in our communities, because people are really, it comes after we do a season of deep embodiment work, where people are kind of willing to be with that, like, and not just willing to be with, but it's like willing to actually like get the juice out of it. You know what I
Mm,
mean? It's like in typical art worlds or performance art, or not just performance art, but in any realm of artistic expression, there's so many different lenses that people can view something through, right? Or
mm,
art just in general. I mean,
mm,
abstract art, my partner is a painter and creates abstract art. And it's like even that, the way that it, puts us into a different part of our brain where we're actually
mhm,
being not just what our conditioned mind is
mhm,
telling us about this thing, but
mm,
we're open to it, and we're
mhm,
saying, I'm open to you,
mhm. Yeah.
I want you to give me information instead of me giving you information
Mm,
about what's happening. It's like receiving and the willingness
mm,
to receive
mm,
information in
mm.
a moment through someone else's truth and authentic experience, which I
Really.
think good soul work is about. You know what I mean? Like that's what motivates us to support each
Mm,
other, fed by the support we can offer each other instead of just depleted by it, is because we actually have a
mm,
passion. I like felt that last
right.
night. I was like, so it was a little like clunky. It was like, I didn't really, it was like, and then all of a sudden it just happened. And I was like, oh, like,
Yeah.
that's why I needed to do
Mm,
this. Because I was
mm,
a little, I don't know, out of it. It's
mm,
summer, people are away, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, like that one moment of witnessing this person, just everything clicked in for me. And I was like, that's why I needed to come do this. And that's like, who knows? It's not a linear thing that then, oh, that person is then going to experience this because of that. But that also
mm,
happens a lot. Like people
mhm,
express things they're afraid to express. And then
mhm.
energy moves differently in our relationships or in our work. So,
Yeah.
and gives us a way to alchemize the stuckness that we're going to keep.
Yeah.
And there's no
Yeah.
end. You know what I mean? As a human being.
And
Um,
I also too think like if you're a teacher, a facilitator, or leader in any capacity, to like have space to actually let something move through you without controlling, in my experience, has given me a lot more trust to
mm,
just be able to get up and facilitate or say the thing or be with a client and trust that I have no idea why I want to say this thing, but I do. And I just taught a yoga class earlier today. The last, I want to say 3 or so classes I've taught, somebody has come up and said that exact thing was like what I was supposed to hear. But I think that that's like trusting the channel, which on some level,
my
it's like a
gosh.
practice by
Yeah.
showing up, just letting yourself be moved, which I need to publish this poem.
See, share it with your students. You could be like, "Hey, I wrote this film on Substack. Go read it. Let me know." Like that same person. You could be like, "Oh my god," It's like because then you're not like also you're not what do you call it? You're not I can't even think of the word. Whenever I can't think of a word, I'm like, "Wow, I've really done a good job at not doing that." Censoring.
Oh,
Self.
that's a good word not to recall.
That's what I'm saying. I always feel proud of myself because I'm like, wow, I must not be doing that. Okay. I mean, I am obviously because I'm human, but I'm not doing it as much as other people because I've worked a lot on this. You know what I mean? So I just feel like there's something in that because then you don't have to do that, and then you could be like, wait, my Substack, wants to be for the people that I'm guiding in this way, and then if at some
Mm,
point
mm,
it takes you in a different direction, and then you're like gearing it towards that, then you figure that out. You know what I mean? But in the season that you're in, it's like people want to read your poem, so go publish it so we can read it.
okay. Thanks for having this conversation with me.
Thank
What
you.
expression, the body and God?
No, it's
Ugh,
so juicy, especially I feel like on a Aquarius full moon, and to just like, yeah, really welcoming and inviting everybody into the rawness and the realness of the
yeah.
writing and how it is something that we can be held in, and like we kind of talked about this, just because I know for me it's so important that I'm held in it, and that's really
Mm,
where it's like I need some containers sometimes, and then I need to create those for myself. But I'm pretty neurodivergent, so I definitely need other people to help me create the containers. Be like, give me some guidance, and then I could go against the guidance, but we teach that in Bible
mm,
all the time. It's like I might offer you something, but the other, I was just sharing this in our training the other day, where I was like, just don't follow any of the rules. Like if you're deep enough on a path spiritually or somatically, at some point you have to just stop following the rules and see what happens. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Be like, wow, for the next week, I'm not going to follow the rules when I'm writing, even in this embodied way that I've learned to write that actually really nourishes. That too, I've gotten stuck, and I had to just be like, whoa, you know what I mean? Like, because we just get, no matter what we're doing, even when it's authentic, it will become, yeah, it just becomes familiar in a way that I think some of us, at least I'll speak for myself, it's just, that's not going to cut it. You know what I mean? And I'm grateful for all of it. And then also like, what is emerging now? Like what wants to emerge right now? The emerging is also just such incredible medicine for us in terms of encountering the divine, encountering God within our bodies, and trusting that, especially as women and folks with vulvas, that we've just been so intensely indoctrinated out of that trust. And also any sensitive soul, you know what I mean? Regardless of gender or sexual orientation, it's like we all have these ways of not trusting ourselves because of the shame that we've inherited, that I do believe on some level is partially ours and partially not, partially sending it back with blessings, but partially ours to work with, and these are really supportive for that, whether it's writing or movement or, ritual and shadow theater. So yeah, just a great for you, and encouraging everybody to check out your work and your writing, and to just be so generous and loving with you. And if anybody wants to come and connect in with us in Body Temple, we have so many ways to come in person and online, and just, Margo teaches in the community, and it's so, it's just such a blessing to have community who understands this language. For me, it's beyond a blessing, because not everybody does it, and that's, it's hard that not everyone understands the language of the soul and the language of the body, and is literate in these ways around, and intensity and love and desire, and all of it. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Send me a note when you publish it.
Okay. Okay. Gonna publish my poem. Okay. Sending so much love. See you soon.
Okay. Bye, Margo. Bye, everyone.
Bye.